Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because you're serious about leveling up, right? And today, we're cutting straight to the heart of it. The CCIE Service Provider certification, if things like BGP, MPLS, segment routing, if those aren't just, letters to, but actual parts of your networking life, then this is your direct route. We're aiming to unlock the critical steps for that elite CCIE status.
Exactly.
You've basically sifted through a whole lot of material and boiled it down to the 5 essential moves you absolutely need to make, especially when you're facing that pretty intense 8-hour lab exam.
Right. The CCIE SP, it's a serious benchmark. It shows deep expertise in complex service provider networks. What we want to give you today isn't just a checklist,
Yeah, definitely not.
It's more about understanding the key phases of preparation. Our mission really is to make this journey, which can feel, honestly, overwhelming, feel structured, and, actionable for you.
Okay, perfect. Let's dive into the first critical step then. Strengthen your foundation. Now, I know, this might sound a bit like networking 101.
It does, yeah.
But honestly, trust us on this. Skipping over the fundamentals or thinking you've got them completely covered is a surprisingly common way people stumble, even really experienced networkers.
That's so true. It's really tempting, isn't it, to jump right into the cool advanced stuff, the latest features. But if that core understanding is shaky, it will show up under the pressure of the lab. Guaranteed.
Yeah, it cracks under pressure.
Think of it like building a skyscraper. Without that solid foundation, the whole thing's at risk. We often see candidates who are brilliant with complex setups get completely tripped up by something fundamental about how protocols interact in an SP context.
Right. Like, for instance, you need an almost intuitive feel for how BGP route reflectors actually work inside a full mesh service provider setup. It's not just memorizing commands. It's understanding why they behave that way, the scaling benefits, especially in these huge networks.
And consider the link between LDP and your IGP. Maybe it's ISIS, maybe OSPF.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just know they work together. You need to grasp the details, like how forwarding paths get set up, and crucially, where things might go wrong with convergence, and how you'd actually troubleshoot that quickly. A solid base there is key for diagnosing tricky problems in the lab.
And QoS. Let's not forget quality of service. You should be able to, almost without thinking, classify, mark, queue, and shape traffic effectively.
Yeah, that's bread and butter.
It really is practical stuff in the SP world. Managing all those different traffic types with strict SLAs, it's vital. The real insight here, I think, is shifting your mindset. For every single protocol, every technology, you have to see it through the lens of SP architecture. Its unique deployment challenges. It's just a different ballgame than enterprise networking.
Totally different, which leads us nicely into step 2. Pass the SPCOR exam. Okay, so the 35501 written exam. It might feel like just another hoop to jump through on your way to the lab.
Yeah, I can see people thinking that.
But seeing it like that, it's a missed opportunity, really, a missed chance to cement some crucial knowledge.
Absolutely. It's way more than just a prerequisite. Think of it as a vital checkpoint. Does your knowledge have the breadth needed for the practical lab challenges? SPCOR kind of builds that comprehensive theoretical frame that, supports all the hands-on work later.
And what's interesting about SPCOR is just how broad it is. It covers everything from high-level network architecture, deep dives into routing protocols.
Yeah.
Yeah, BGP is massive, but so are your IGPs.
Can't forget those.
Right. Then there are services, different VPN types like VRFs, for network segmentation. Think virtual routers inside a physical one. And increasingly important stuff like network automation and assurance. It's this really comprehensive check to make sure you've got that solid overall grasp.
So what's the smart approach for SPCOR? Well, the official Cisco blueprint, that's your map. Keep it handy. Then layer on top the good stuff, Cisco Pressbooks, training from places like INE or CBT Nuggets, and absolutely get your hands dirty with practice labs to really test if you understand it. SPCOR lays essential groundwork for the lab. Treat it seriously, not just as like a gate you have to pass through.
Okay, moving to step 3, and this is where, the theory starts hitting the command line. Build your own lab.
Yes, the fun part, or maybe the frustrating part sometimes.
Both, probably. But look, if you're serious about the CCIE SP, hands-on isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential. Think of your home lab, or maybe a cloud lab, as your personal dojo, your practice space. for trying things, breaking things, learning from mistakes.
And the good news is, like you said, you don't need a room full of blinking lights anymore. We've got these powerful virtual platforms. EVE-NG gets recommended a lot. Super flexible.
It's great, yeah.
Cisco VIRL is another solid choice. Gives you that very authentic Cisco feel if you prefer that. And Genus 3 is still good, maybe for lighter tasks or specific protocol deep dives.
The platform is important, sure, but the real key is what you build in it. Your goal is to mimic a realistic service provider network. That means setting up multiple routers playing different roles, your core P routers, your provider edge PE routers, and those customer edge CE devices.
Right, the whole ecosystem. And these virtual boxes need to be running the core stuff you'll face in the real world and definitely in the lab. We're talking BGP, obviously, and not just iBGP, but eBGP too, like peering between providers.
Yep, and an MPLS core. Absolutely essential with LDP working properly.
And don't forget VPNs. You need to be comfortable setting up and fixing both Layer 3 VPNs and Layer 2 VPNs, plus a solid IGP, ISIS, or OSPF, whichever you lean towards, and understanding how it all fits together with MPLS and BGP.
And segment routing. Given how important that's becoming for traffic engineering and just simplifying designs in modern ST networks, you absolutely need SR in your lab now.
Good point. And yeah, maybe less glamorous, but don't skip multicast and definitely practice those QoS configs for managing SLAs.
Consistency is the name of the game here. Try to lab every single day, even if it's just for a focused hour or so, and embrace failure. When stuff breaks, and believe me, it will.
Oh, it will.
View it as a learning opportunity. Document everything. Your configs, the errors you hit, how you fix them. Remember, the CCIE is a marathon of dedicated practice. It's not about having the fanciest physical setup. It's about commitment.
Well said. Which brings us to step 4, shifting gears slightly from the purely technical to the strategic side. Treat your prep like a project.
Yes, this is one people often overlook, especially as technical folks who love getting lost in the weeds. But nailing the CCIE isn't just about knowing stuff. It's about effective planning and, execution.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't roll out a complex new service across a provider network without a proper project plan, right?
Hopefully not.
Your CCIE prep deserves that same kind of structured approach. Seriously.
So the practical question is, how do you actually do that? Well, we really recommend breaking down that massive CCIE SP blueprint into smaller chunks. Weekly goals, maybe even daily goals.
Makes it less daunting.
For sure. And use project tools. Kanban boards are great for this. Trello, Notion, whatever works for you. Visualize your progress. See what topics are done, what's left.
And track your mistakes. Keep a detailed fail log. Configurations that went sideways. Understanding why it broke is often way more valuable than just getting it right the first time.
Absolutely. Set realistic timelines.
Yeah.
Schedule your mock labs. Block out dedicated review days to consolidate. And this is crucial, schedule rest days. Burnout is real.
So real. Avoid it at all costs. Remember, this is a long haul.
And it's interesting, effective learning often feels counterintuitive. People think marathon cram sessions are the way.
Yeah, the all-nighters.
Right. But consistent, focused study, maybe just 90 minutes a day, but every day spread out over time.
Yeah.
That's far better for actually retaining information and avoiding fatigue than those epic cram sessions where you just hit a wall. Think training for a marathon, not sprinting the day before.
Makes perfect sense. And that leads us, finally, to the crucial step 5. Simulate the real lab. This is it, the final boss.
The big one.
That intimidating 8-hour CCIE Service Provider lab exam. It's intense. It's split into 3 parts. Design first, for an hour, then deploy, that's the main config part, 5 hours, and finally operate and optimize 2 hours of troubleshooting and tweaking.
You just cannot walk into that exam cold, not prepared for the pressure, the format, the whole environment. That's why running realistic full-length simulations in your own lab environment is, well, it's non-negotiable. You have to mimic the real exam conditions as closely as you possibly can.
And when we say realistic, we mean really stick to the rules. Set that 8-hour timer and live by it. No Googling answers when you get stuck.
No lifeline.
None. Force yourself to use just a basic text editor for configs, just like in the real lab. Start with design questions, follow the exam flow, and make sure towards the end of that 8 hours, you're practicing fixing things that are deliberately broken. That operate and optimize part is critical.
What you gain from these simulations is invaluable. Speed, efficiency. You start building your own set of config templates for common tasks. Setting up VRFs, Standard BGP policies, basic MPLS, little snippets that save you precious minutes.
Time savers are gold in there.
Absolutely. But more than that, these full runs build mental stamina. Physical endurance even, sitting there concentrating for 8 hours. You learn time management under fire. You see where you're strong and you pinpoint exactly where you still need work.
So here's our strong recommendation. Don't just do one mock lab. Aim to confidently get through at least 3 full 8-hour simulations under strict exam conditions. If you can consistently nail those, your chances of passing the real CCIE SP lab go way, way up.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's quickly recap those 5 essential expert-level steps for cracking the CCIE Service Provider certification. 1, build and keep strengthening that core foundation. Always thinking with that SP architecture mindset.
Right. 2, nail the SPCOR exam. Really understand the whole curriculum. Don't just pass it.
3, build and actually use a realistic lab environment that mirrors key SP technologies.
4, treat your prep like a structured project. Goals, tracking, reviews, the whole deal.
And 5, simulate that 8-hour lab exam. Rigorously, repeatedly, until you're comfortable performing under that pressure.
Getting that CCIE SP number, it's a massive achievement, no doubt about it. It really signals a deep, validated, highly respected level of expertise in this complex field of service provider networking.
It really does.
And by committing to these 5 steps, with discipline and focus, you are putting yourself on the most direct, most effective path to actually earning it.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, listening right now. Looking at these 5 steps we've just walked through, which one honestly feels like the biggest hurdle for you right now? Where's your biggest challenge in your personal prep journey?
Good question.
Take a moment, really think about that. And maybe more importantly, figure out what specific proactive steps you can take, maybe starting today, to tackle that specific area head on. Identifying your weak spots and strategically turning them into strengths. That's often what separates the successful CCIE